Welcome to another panel number 6 in the Mind, Body, Spirit panel series, part of the Angels, Positivity, and Love show. Now, I have 3 extremely special guests. We could call them venerable teachers, even healers if we use the most abstract term. 2 have already been guests on the show. Vasi, THERESE, Rose, Lopez, St. Thomas Island, U.S. Virgin Islands, episode 28, I believe, in the Angel, Positivity, and Love series. She has spent time in India studying under Sri Kalashwar. Lengthy bios are coming up for all 3, but we'll probably start the discussion first. I encourage people to go to that episode if you want to actually get the details now, or start there before you do this panel. Appreciate her. She's got an incredible way about her. We also have Paul Sugar in Arizona. Almost no introduction needs to be given just because he's been on Coast to Coast AM lately and many other shows. 50 plus years of mindfulness and meditation. He was, I believe, episode 7's guest for Angels, Positivity, and Love. Remote viewing, plenty of experiences, visions, lots shared near-death experience. His work in terms of mindfulness meditation is in 48 states in America in the public school system, helping kids let go and just calm down to be in their heart more. It's a beautiful bit of work that he's offered kids, but all of us really. Okay, Mark Shimada as well in Prague, an American Buddhist chaplain, but more than that, artist, former swim coach with, I didn't know this, his swimmers have set not just national, but world records. He was really into it back in the day, but now still artist, acting, Buddhist chaplain. Just think of him as a Zen teacher. His presence is incredible. His mirth, his joviality, let's use words I never say, but he's got an amazingness to him. Suchness, all 3 guests have amazing suchness. Again, we'll get to some formal intros later. I want to go ahead and just welcome everybody here. Mark Shimada in Prague, welcome.
Thanks, Michael.
Paul Sugar in Arizona, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Good to be here.
And Vasi in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Michael. Very, very much appreciate it.
Okay, let's start with, I mean, a lot of these are eternal questions facing us all in our individual life paths. It's also what we would talk about if we were having tea 4,000 years ago in the cafe. These are eternal questions for mankind, humanity in a way. So look, everyone out there is trying to live their life path or doing the best they can to be the ostrich with its head in the sand and to avoid the tough questions and opportunities facing us as we live our lives. The last place we want to go is our heart. And the last thing we want to do is make everything easy and start moving forward in life. It's better to be stuck than to get out of, thinking and into your heart. Can we have each of you talk about the human condition, what it means to be human, what our opportunities are, even though my problem is finances, divorces, relationship, health crises. Give us some taste of the big picture and what our opportunities are. Can I have Mark Shimada address this first?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I often wonder in some conversations I've had with people about how difficult it is for people to realize how amazing they are. I get a little emotional about it because I just feel like for some reason it's off people's radar with so much in their environment that they just forget that they're just these amazing people. And it's one of the reasons why I still love working, is because I get exposed to so many of these people who I just feel are so amazing just doing what they're doing. I don't think there are any questions that should be, or doubts about any of it. And that's, for me, when I try to spend time with people, I just try to help them see that. If they can just get a glimpse of that for a moment, they can ride that for a while and remove some of the barriers, the way that they look at things, the stories that are attached to it. So that pretty much, I feel like, sums up where I feel like I try to be with people today. It wasn't the way it used to be. The way it used to be for me was, I always thought we had to solve problems, that everything had to be fixed. And I don't see the world that way anymore.
I love that. I mean, I'm going to digress for 2 seconds. Angels once said things don't need to be fixed. And I think it was more about the world or mankind and stuff like that. It was really broad. It might have been about the climate, but we won't go there. It's not up to humans was the second part of that response. And it just has stuck with me for more than 8 years now, that response, because part of our brain wants to say, we do have to get hands-on, get in there, do the old American try and fix everything. Vasi, could you address any version of that question that you wish?
Yes, thank you. Human life is very, very valuable. Of all the other life forms that there are, it's really an honor to be a human because we've been given the faculty of our mind, our soul, our heart, but especially our soul and our consciousness. We have opportunities every day to grow, to gain more of a start on our spiritual path, although many people are not quite aware of that. And they're so involved in what's going on around them in the elements with the illusion that they don't keep track of the fact why we're here. And many people may not know it from their upbringing or just from lack of a certain experience. But we're here on a soul journey. Everybody has a calling or a vocation or a dharma to fulfill, whether it's individual or with a group. And so when I'm doing my work, really trying to help people see what life is about. A lot of the meditations that we are involved in really do change our perspective and help you to see yourself and the world in a different way. It's one big creation. We're not the doers. The divine are doing everything through us. And so it's to be open to what's flowing through, to be really clear in keeping your mind out of the way, bringing your soul energy up. Mantra meditation is excellent for that. And it really changes the way you feel about yourself and life to become more joyful and more involved in helping other people. It's really important to serve others in whatever way that comes to you.
Service, there's no higher calling. I'm borrowing from Peaceful Warrior. Also, doing via being, or being via doing. I should just say doing by being, or being by doing. There's a big difference. Again, that can take a lifetime to figure out. Paul Sugar, another one of our eternal, inner, fearless, peaceful warriors today. Thank you all again for being here. Paul, what do you have for us?
Well, let's see. I'll probably start out with something that is obvious, probably to most people who are going to be watching this, and that is that we are a spirit living a physical life. It's amazing, though, how many people don't really get that. A lot of people question it when those existential questions get pondered. Who are we? You know, what's life? What's death? So forth and so on. A lot of people don't really cozy up to the concept of being a spirit in a body. They're not quite sure, but I think probably, well, us and a lot of the people who are going to be watching this are probably plugged into that particular paradigm. So that's sort of my foundation. And so that being said, the thing that amazes me most about being human is that inside of this body is the best and the worst. And I think a lot of what we do in life is trying to keep our focus on what the best aspects of us are and sort of keep the worst in abeyance. In fact, recently, and I've seen that a lot with my own meditation and teaching meditation as well, people come across these two opposites when they're meditating. They come into contact with those qualities that are the best, and sometimes they come into contact with the qualities that are the worst. Fear and all of those related experiences would be probably part of the worst, which drives some of the impulses that we have as humans in the wrong direction. I also see it recently I've been doing a lot of work creating curriculum with the University of California, San Diego. They've got a Center for Psychedelic Research there. So I've been sort of diving in because I believe that mindfulness, which is the main thing that I teach, I believe that mindfulness would serve people well if they were preparing to do psychedelic therapy. And then once they're done with psychedelic therapy, I think mindfulness would be a great instrument to help them integrate. And so I've come across a lot of that best and the worst stuff when dealing with people who are going the direction of psychedelic therapy, which not long from now will become legal for certain diagnoses. And so psychedelics can put us in touch with the best and the worst, and which is why in psychedelic therapy, it's very important to make sure that everything is done correctly, the guardrails are in place, and so forth and so on. So that whole best and the worst thing has really come to the fore with me because I see a lot of it with that. But I've also seen a lot of it just with the meditation as well. So I'm amazed at how all of those things can exist, you know, within the human experience. And, you know, certainly it's almost heroic, you know, for us to navigate through life as a human in these amazing bodies that are just beginning to experience what the potentials are. I think there's a lot of us that is just beginning to wake up. It's like that song that George Harrison wrote. I look at you all, see the love there that's sleeping while my guitar gently weeps. You know? And he saw it the same way. You know, he looked at so many people and realized that there's a lot of love there, but it's sleeping in a lot of people. And that's part of our potential. And I think that as humans, there's a great movement, a great awakening taking place where people are going to be able to experience their potential and love being at the center of awakening that potential. So that's all I have to say for now on that.
I love it. Hey, the hero's journey, it's here. And for some, it's lifetimes. For others, it's just decades. We don't want to go there. We don't want to face how easy it is to let go of the details. For others, a week or two, months, years. But maybe just listening or feeling the presence. People can do that. Let go more. Feel the vibrations we're getting from Arizona, from US Virgin Islands, and from Prague, Czech Republic. That brings us to the next question. We'll start with Mark. Thinking versus awareness, whatever you want to call being up here. It can be a waste of energy. It can be negative. Welcome to, if it's Casablanca, the casino. I'm shocked there's gambling going on. I do thinking, it comes out on my runs. It's sort of like a garbage disposal, a chance to do running meditation and to shed anything I'm carrying around till I finally actually enjoy the run. Might take 10 miles. But that said, there's also the heart, unconditional love, unlimited possibility, our authentic presence, suchness. There's 1,000 descriptions, and each of you will have your own language, and each of our audience members needs to hear it a different way. But there's a unifying factor here, love. Mark Shimada, I bought you as much time as I could for you to contact.
Yeah, I wish I could have taken notes, but you know, you can't separate them, right? And that, I think, because is a fundamental question, because when you try to separate it, obviously you're doing more thinking. But I think for me, the analogy that came to me as you pose that question is, you know, thinking for me is like this ticker tape. You know, it's like the Wall Street ticker tape, or what's running along the news on the bottom. And it's just, you know, that's kind of what's happening, is all of that stuff that's just coursing through our brains and consciously and unconsciously. And some of it is good. You know, I think that's the challenge is with skill, you kind of know what to take from that ticker tape and what to kind of let kind of move on. because it's just noise. Awareness for me lately, I begin to have looking at it as this whole felt sense of my body, and which includes heart and mind, eyes, smelling, everything, that full five senses awareness. And that to me is like, I'm trying to use that more as a satellite for my life, rather than using the ticker tape, and just trying to use that to kind of predict and choose and make decisions. That whole felt sense. And there's lots of people who talk about, feelings, which I think is one way of looking at a felt sense. But for me, it's this bigger satellite field, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. It's just not, here. It's like all of this, across time and space, and who knows. And that's why one of my motivations for sitting for my Zazen practice is that, can I up my sensitivity? Because that guides me a lot when I'm in anything, just trying to stay in that felt sense, of what's happening and what am I picking up and what's true and what's not true, what's a perception, what's an illusion, these questions that I just kind of often dance around all the time. But I don't try to hold on to it and solve anything. I'm just like, wow, okay, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. And a Zen calligraphy teacher that I had, Alok, a beautiful person, opened me up. And he said that what he does when he has a feeling or a thought, he just says, that's interesting. That's it. He doesn't do anything with it. He just says, that's interesting. So I've learned that from him, and kind of how I navigate this relationship between thinking, awareness, feelings, and so on.
Is that so? That's the old Buddhist Zen parable. I think it was the Zen teacher in the fishing village handed a child when there's a knock on the door. Somebody has accused him of being the dad. 2 years later, they come back to pick up the child. They've got the real father. And he just says, is that so, for a second time, and hands the child back to having taken perfect care of the kid. We wish it worked that way these days in America. Okay, Vasi, you can handle the topic any way you wish, and eloquent from both of them. Mark, I need to mention, though, is outstanding in his field. Not really. He's actually standing in a New York City hotel room. So if anybody sees him go up and down, there were no chairs in the room. So he's being a super great sport for all of us. And don't worry about if he's going up and down. He's coming back.
Well, that's me, not Mark.
Oh, and that's Paul Sugar that I'm talking about. Sorry about that. Paul with the blue art painting behind him is in a New York City hotel room. I'm being a bad host.
Unless Mark has somehow managed to switch presences, he may have taken over here and I'm over there, but if he hasn't done that, I'm the one that's standing.
Yes.
So if you see me bobbing down every once in a while, I'm resting my legs.
Yeah, we got to stretch those so you don't pull the armed guard in Britain falling over from too much rigidity, which is probably one of our next questions. Okay, Vasi, what have you got for us?
Yes, and thank you. For me, thinking is pretty much, a function of the mind. It's what it does all day. It makes lists, it organizes things, and we need that, to function in this world. Whereas awareness to me is using all your senses. I mean, you can have mental awareness. Definitely there's soul awareness. And I think for me, the awareness is more like noticing and being observant of what the energy is doing around you. To me, it's more of a soul function. It's a little more subtle, I'd say. It's not as integrated and maybe organized or categorizing like thinking, but awareness just has that it's a capability that we have as beings of light, as a soul function, to be aware of what's going on around us, to feel with our inner senses and not necessarily using our outer senses to pick up on energy, to sense what's going on in creation. We can even use our awareness to pick up on what a loved one from far away might be feeling. If they're in pain or if they've had an accident or something, your awareness can pick up on that. So it's a sensitivity, which I think in some people is heightened. It can be developed into greater, sensitivity and awareness. But I feel it's about everything. It's about this creation. Your consciousness is your awareness of existence itself. And so I think developing the consciousness is really important. And in mantra meditation, that's the main goal, is to bring down the mind and bring up the soul function so that you are led more by the truth of this reality and not by the illusion. And that's how you can make better progress in life, not create necessarily so much karma. You can find your dharma that way, your life's purpose. There's a whole lot of avenues, that I could go on with it, but I just think they are different things, but awareness is really what we want to develop overall in our spiritual growth. It's very important to have that, to notice how the energy is flowing from you, through you, all around, because what's inside of us is reflected outward. A lot of people take what's going on around them as their reality, when it's what we have going on inside in our soul and heart level, in our mind, that reflects outward to give us a message. Oh, this is happening. You need to adjust your thinking. Don't be so judgmental, or you're really putting out a lot of love now, and that's coming back to you as a good feeling. So it's a matter of really being aware that what's inside is reflected outward, and your true reality is what's going on the inside. That's painting the picture around you.
Very powerful, Vasi. Thank you for that. I'm going to do one quote, but then I'm going to challenge each of you in a random order this time, so you can't predict who's next, for a mantra-like reminder. We're always forgetting all the time. Even if you say, aha, responding to one of our guests' statements, and you agree with it or relate to it or feel it, tomorrow, good luck remembering to remember, if you can remember when you remember. Here's the quote. I put this on Twitter. This is from 2017, but I've got a million angel quotes there if you go back to 2014. When no ego is present, your heart and soul shine through your eyes. You are love, you sparkle. Angels said that. And I love that quote because it ties into what Vasi was just sharing with us. Now, Paul Sugar, what one reminder do you have for the audience before I get to all your bios? This is the one quick enjoinder, call to action. I think I'm using that phrase correctly.
Well, can I sort of take off on what we were talking about with thinking and the awareness?
Take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you need, do it.
All right. Because I think that thinking that thinking tends to get a bad rap, and somebody once asked me, how do we know that we exist? If I was talking about the idea of what happens when thinking stops, and this particular person was a compulsive thinker. They think all the time, and that was one of the reasons that we were together and we were working on that. And I posed that question to him, and I said, what happens when your thought stops? And he said, that's not possible. I said, well, sure it is. It is possible. And what I'll tell you, and hopefully what you'll experience gradually, is that when thought stops, that's where there's pure awareness. And I know part of the mindfulness practice is bringing one's attention to thinking, because that particular practice has a very interesting result of helping the thoughts to stop. In fact, there's an old Sufi saying, and it goes like this. Thoughts tend to be very, very shy because when you look at them, they run away and hide. And that really, to me, describes that particular practice in the mindfulness tradition. When we look at them, when we shift our attention to thinking, there is that tendency for thinking to stop completely. And that's when we really get to experience that pure awareness. And then we also begin to realize, speaking of a mantra, we also begin to realize at that point that we're not our thoughts, and you don't have to believe everything that you think. So that's an interesting thing. And then as we progress on the path, we also realize that we can transform our thinking, because thinking is driven by energy. And if the energy that's animating your thoughts is coming from stress or fear or anything like that, well, then the thoughts are going to be influenced by stress and fear, and they're going to tend to be negative. But if you've gotten that in its proper position, and instead of being led down the path by fear and all of its related experiences, now you're being driven by the love and the compassion and gratitude and things like that, that actually transforms the nature of the mind. So it begins to think in different ways, in much more positive ways. And so that's why I always think we don't want to throw the mind out we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, the mind is and the thinking is just beginning to, we're just beginning to understand that it has tremendous potential, and it doesn't have to be something that holds us back. It can be something that we can really work with that helps us to become enlightened and better people. So that's why I think thinking has gotten a bad name, but it shouldn't, because it just needs to be worked on a little bit.
Beautiful, Paul. We're going to go to Mark for an extensive follow-up right away, but I'm going to stall for a second. Very few thoughts can be defended. That actually came out of a song from the 70s, and I'm blanking on which one it was, and it was in reverse, I think. But very few thoughts can be defended. If you start to look at a thought as an absolute, we're now in Byron Katie territory, like a Navy SEAL training camp. You'll never survive it. She will help you with anything that you think is a fixed opinion and help with a little bit of a mechanics wrench, separate you from what you thought you knew so that you put a little light in there and you breathe and get back to the true reality of broader possibility. I'm going to mention, though, since you mentioned baby with the bathwater, that is one of the top 2 quotes you hear all the time on the press. Some expert somewhere says, don't toss the baby out with the bathwater. I had 18 years, public relations, New York City, globally, whatever. The other one then is rising tide lifts all boats. Everyone says that. So I'm going to throw in why that's significant. Positivity is abundance. The more you just practice that, the simpler it gets. Everything opens up for you. Opening openness. Let's turn to Mark Shimada. What have you got for us for a quick follow-up?
Opening openness. Wow.
That's Chogyam Trungpa or Gentle Frank, whatever you want to call him. But everything I say is borrowed from angels and others.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, because lately I've been asking myself and talking to some people about, how do you try something that you've never done before? And, what is it that makes some people more curious and willing to kind of be interested and try something they've never done before out of the blue, and other people who are just so quick to just shut it down and just not? And I don't really have an answer. I just feel like this is back to the first part about where we started, human condition. I just don't know what's in a person's life story that has affected them to the point where, a child doesn't raise their hand when somebody says, who's an artist? And they don't raise their hand. These things that unconsciously, subconsciously, directly affect and come from the environment. So, for me, I really am very sensitive about the language I use and my body language, how I look at someone, because I'm part of that system that does that. And I'm very aware of it. I've had friends that have called me on it, and I'm so grateful to them. They literally did not want to spend time with me because they always felt like they weren't good enough. And whatever I said shut them down to that point. And I can't even recall those things anymore. So I'm on the side of, what am I taking responsibility for? What can I do to make sure that I'm not shutting down someone's openness? I don't know what opens it. I have no idea, but I feel like I get more insight from people I talk to who are honest with me about what happens when they don't feel open anymore. And, that's really sad for me, because I feel like I'm taking away their opportunities to experience some of the things that Vasi and Paul are talking about. I'm directly affected them. And I have no way to go back and take back any of those things. But that doesn't make me afraid to spend time with people. I just have to be, much more aware of, like, what words am I using? How am I looking at them? How am I responding to something that's very difficult in their life, or something that they don't know how to solve? I'm learning about all that still. But I'm very much, it's what makes me go back to the cushion is the people that I feel like I've hurt. That's my motivation, to keep practicing and trying to be a person that, is worthy of their time and space, and let that flow. Like Vasi said, I don't want to be the person blocking the flow. I want to be the person that, like, lets the flow move through, and with good intention, that's what I intend. But sometimes it just doesn't work out like that.
No, Mark, that's beautiful. Trust more, allow more. We're all bulls in china shops, though, so there's going to be some breakage. I'm sorry to break it to everybody, pun intended. And is that so, Mark? No, okay. Vasi, let's have you actually weigh in on this. Remember, everything is perfect as it is if we would simply get out of our own way and start going with the flow more. Artistic, athletic, business flow, Shakti, you name it. Talk to us about allowing more.
Being able to allow is really what a lot of people, I think, are seeking. I mean, in many areas of people's lives, they are blocked. And most of the time, we're blocking ourselves. We're not open enough to receiving, or we have some maybe a negative intention that's flowing in us. And so we block the divine flow, which is flowing through us and out into the world. But I think we have to learn how to get out of our own way to really allow the divine to work through us, because we're not the doers. Our soul is a vehicle for the divine expression in this world. And through pranayama, through meditation, yoga, proper diet and exercise, time in nature, all of that, we can learn to really soften our minds, open our soul, allow the divine flow to come through us and to be part of creation, because we already are one with creation, one with each other. We're not taught that. We're taught that, I'm Vasi, you're Michael, these guys are here. We're all separate. We're just individual soul expressions of God's energy in the world. And so seeing all of us as one, it just opens up the whole parameter, the whole perspective of what life is about. We're here to help each other. We're here also, of course, to go through our karmas with those people we have. And there can be bad karma and they can be good karma, but everything happens for a reason. It's to have that awareness as to what it might mean, and to, bring that forward if you can, or talk to somebody who can help you see the perspective of why things are happening in your life. there's so much to know about all of this. But I think really the fact that we are one as a human race, we're one with the earth, with plants and animals, everything. This whole planet is, you know, a macrocosm. It has its own consciousness. It's alive with energy, and we all are too. So it's treating each other with love. Love is becoming the currency now, the main currency in this earth plane. Fear is dissolving in many places. It may not look like it if you're watching the news, which is not something I do. But, you know, to really work from your heart and soul as a being of love. Sri Kalashwar says that his religion is the religion of love. And anyone who went to the ashram, that's our core value. We treat each other with love and respect and treat others as we would treat ourselves. And so I think just being aware of that and using it, having the intention to use that energy in your day, to start out with love, even if you know you might be meeting someone who maybe didn't say nice things about you last time, to walk with that forgiveness and just let it go, because there's a karma attached to it, and things will flow, things will open up and change, especially if you meditate and send them love. That is a miracle energy that will change many things. There's no timing on it. It could be sooner or later, but that's the main factor for miracles, is that love energy.
Beautiful, Vasi. Love that. So love, without dropping my pen and my pen cap, love, unlove. One is one place, one is another. Have your opinions, then get back to love. Good luck with that. You know, just 5% less thinking a week. I think 7.5%, 7% is what Angels actually said a day, a week, is the Olympic gold medal for all of us. We're not talking a lot, maybe a couple extra hours a day. Do yoga instead, hug the dog, go for a walk. A practical suggestion for anyone out there, let's go really easy here, because we've been hitting folks hard. They're going to feel stretched at some point. Let's go easy with your favorite practice. That's the simplest. It's the way you whisk the eggs. It's the way you go for a walk, or you sit still, or you appreciate the trees. Paul, what do you love daily if you could, but maybe just weekly as an activity to make sure you give yourself a break?
Does meditation count as an activity?
Yeah, we kind of mentioned, so give us something creative. Is it old Westerns and then you wear the cowboy hat? No.
You know, actually, I do like to watch the old Westerns. There's a channel on TV in Arizona. It's called the Me Channel. And they play like Have Gun Will Travel and Bonanza and stuff like that. And I do watch those old Westerns for fun every once in a while. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I mean, yeah.
Mark Shimada, what's your go-to activity that wouldn't necessarily be something we would just ascribe to you right away?
Baking.
I love it. And in the art of baking, what have you been learning, whether it's months, years, decades for baking? What is it? What's still popping out, not just of the oven, but as the moments are happening, you're like, wow, you're getting more into it. You're experiencing more. Share one little insight from that banana bread.
You know, it's just like everything else in life. Everybody has so much to offer. There's so many amazing YouTube bakers and cooks out there. I learned from them all, and just try what they do and see what works. I mean, that applies to everything, right? I love that. So it's fun experimenting, trying, you know. They're like all in my kitchen. It's like all of your angels, you know, they're all in my kitchen helping me, and we just see what happens. So.
And Vasi, I'm going to buy you a little bit of time, because as soon as you give us your activity for relaxing, we're going to give you this question. And it's not a koan. There's the Zen Buddhist thing. And then there are those statements in, I'm going to do the best I can here, Zen philosophy or Zen books, especially this one with Joe Shu. What a wonderful set of books. It's always phrased as a student or a monk running up to the master or teacher and trying to show that they've arrived in terms of their lessons, that they're here, not up here doing the thinking that we all do, where we're stuck all the time. And so there's a classic foundation, a classic structure. The student asks a question, the master responds. Sometimes it's 2 rounds. And by the end of it, the student needs to go back to their learning, and the master has shown that, hey, it's love. You just do it. Okay, here it is. A monk asked, a student asked of the master, what is the fact of my own nature? And again, the student's trying to show that they've arrived. Their fruit is ripe. They're here. Suchness, love, the rest. The master said, if you put it that way, is there anything you dislike? And again, the more time you spend with your opinions and knowing, the type of knowing that precludes possibility, you're blocking your own opportunity to love more, allow more. And it's like details. Keep letting go of details. It doesn't matter what they are. Just keep letting go, and you'll eventually find your center. So with Vasi, what do you have for us for a quick activity? And then can you take some of that and move forward with it?
Yeah, my activity that I really enjoy a lot, which I do many times a day, is to snuggle with my dogs, to play and snuggle with the dogs. They are just very loving beings, as you might expect. I mean, you have animals too, so they just bring me a lot of joy. It's a quick go-to, to reboot my system.
Oh, I love it. Yes, dogs,
Yeah.
very unconditional. Just I go to them as often as I can remember if I remember. Okay, Vasi, keep going though with this. We had talked about like dharma, karma, the difference. A lot of folks, it can, terminology for me or like people's names out the window.
Yes, so karma is an activity in our tradition, the divine lineage with Sri Kalashwar. We consider karma more of an activity of the mind, whereas dharma would be an activity of the soul. And again, there is good karma, bad karma. We're all in this life because we have some karma, some attachments from previous lives that have brought us back so that we can take that activity and change the energetic expression that it had previously to rebalance our karmic ledger, so to speak. And so karma is a way that, maybe you've judged somebody or you've taken revenge or done something negative. You come back and you try to change the way you act with that person. You wash that energy, you forgive, you move forward positively, more positively than you have before. And everybody has it. I mean, that's why we're here. But there's also such a thing as making good karma too, when you maybe help somebody carry their grocery bags out the store, or make some nice banana bread and give it to your clients. Doing something that will bring cheer to other people is a good karma activity. And so karma really comes when we have desires and attachments that we haven't used properly, and we've created some kind of negative action on someone else. We have to pay that back. And so many times it comes from the mind, because the mind looks at what's out there, the illusion, as the reality, and it makes judgments or it makes decisions based on it. Whereas dharma is really an activity of the soul, and many people who are in touch with their soul energy learn what that is. I mean, some people have a calling and they know it. I think they're at a level where their spirituality is really great. They have a good connection with whatever divine being they want to be with, Jesus, Mother Mary, Buddha, whoever it is, and they just know what their calling is. Other people have to work on it and find it. And there's the activity of the soul, which there are many avenues that God shares his love and his creativity. There's bhajans and singing. There's serving other people in whatever way you can. It's taking care of elderly in an old home, helping bring some light and cheer to their life. There's all sorts of activities like that. And there's also group dharma. There's maybe a group of people get together and meditate to send peace on earth, or they share a fire puja together to bring more light and healing to the environment and to the area where they're living. So dharma really, I think, is an activity of the soul that is individual, and it's also group. You can have both. We're all here to do something to shine our light, to let others know that there is a higher power, there is a source that has brought us here. And, and to give thanks for that, no matter how it looks, even to give thanks for our karmas that are coming back to us, because they're being resolved and we're moving forward, and all parties are moving forward. So it's a good thing. It's to be positive as much as you can, be grateful, and bring, your joy to the table, even if it might not be something that's happening that's in your favor.
Thank you, Vasi.
Observe it.
And I'm going to go to Paul, but I'm going to do his background first, because I know Paul's going to be able to weigh in on this. Now, I'm going to mention Paul's background loosely before I actually cheat and look at a clipboard. And I'm going to break everybody's intros up with sort of their intro when I go to Mark next after Paul. I'll do Mark's intro. This way, you're not getting 3 bios all at once. But I'm going to mention broadly, Paul had a near-death experience back in his Syracuse days. He was there at the time that both my parents were going there. They did not run into each other, so to speak, but he's got remote viewing experience. He was a heavy empath, even as a kid, amazing fear of death. And so widely picking up on other people's feelings, energies, illnesses, and so had to do a lot of work and education to begin to have separation boundaries so he could just enjoy his own energy. But for his technical background, mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, teacher training in 1994 at the Center for Mindfulness, pioneered by John Kabat-Zinn. This was at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, but he's been certified at a few other spots. MBSR instructor via the Mindfulness-Based Professional Training Institute at UCSD. He's been a mentor for MBSR certification candidates there, but also up in Toronto at the Center for Mindfulness Studies. Again, his workshops, programs, and so on for kids in 48 states, the U.S. public school system, especially heavy in Atlanta, LA, that school system, millions of kids getting a shot at just doing meditation. And it's not just doing, it's a big deal for a lot of folks in their futures. But also well-versed in yoga, Tai Chi. I mentioned remote viewing, Stargate program, U.S. government. Before it was heavy on the U.S. government side, he thought he was just doing the program for a little bit in more of a institution studies, university program. Last little bit, he currently runs the Scottsdale Institute for Health and Medicine. His website, stressbeaters.com. Be sure to check out his episode 7 of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Also check out, though, Coast to Coast AM. He was on with Connie Willis and did a great job on that. Paul, what have you got for us for talking about the big picture? I'm going to mention something else. The universe is really big. There's a lot out there. There's a lot within. It's all really the same thing if you want to go sort of multidimensional, transdimensional. When you're doing love, you're connecting to all there is. You're one with all. We're all then connected versus separation. So you had a lot of experience. If you were a pilot in the Navy, we're not talking 2,000 or 3,000 hours of flying, more like 50,000 hours. They've got to put you into the retirement program with the number of hours you've got. And so with that, you've seen and done a lot. The question is, how much will you share on the next answer?
How much time do we have?
Exactly.
I mean, I could just be silent for 10 seconds and that would be my sharing. But, I mean, yeah, it seems like, I don't always think about it, but as you were reading off all that stuff, it's like I'm saying to myself, I did all that and I'm doing all that. It's like, wow, I'm tired. I need a nap. I don't know. I guess what's driven me in this direction was being born with the fear of dying. And so as I look back on my life, every direction that I've gone in has been my search to understand where that fear came from and what it's all about and to overcome it. And so a lot of the experiences that you read off there were done in the service of trying to figure all that out, which I believe I have at this point. And the remote viewing thing was spontaneous, which through a series of events, it drew me into the Stargate program with the CIA in the early 70s. And that was interesting. I met some very interesting people there. There was a sort of a spoof movie that was done with George Clooney and some other famous actors called Men Who Stare at Goats. And that was really about the Stargate program. It was a wild movie. I enjoyed it tremendously. I've probably seen it like 10 times, you know. Some of the stuff was real, some of it wasn't. But there was a lot of stuff, of course, that they didn't include in the
Can you
movie.
give us two examples of something that, I mean, I'm assuming you can talk about it since it's like 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Can you give us two examples of something that wasn't in the movie that are, you know, juicy little tidbits that we'll chuckle about if I'm going to be watching the movie this weekend? I've seen parts of it.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you one juicy thing. And of course, I can tell it's been declassified, but for many, many years, you know, I was afraid to talk about it. I didn't want the men in black to come after me, you know. And even after it got declassified, I really only started talking about a lot of these things maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But the reason, and a lot of people don't realize this, but the reason that the CIA started up the Stargate program was in response to what the Russians were doing with paranormal studies and so forth and so on. Russia has always been way ahead of us when it comes to paranormal experiences and things like that. There must be something in the Russian DNA that helps them to gravitate in that direction. And so the CIA was very aware of the programs that the Russians were doing. And they didn't want to fall behind, frankly. So the Stargate program was our answer to bringing paranormal into the military and into securing America and making it safe and so forth and so on. It was, you know, of course, part of an extensive spy program, which the Americans believed that the Russians were using remote viewing and things like that to spy on us. I won't go on with that. I've got hours to talk about with that, but suffice it to say that after a short period of time, I just lost interest in the program and decided to drop out. But I did meet some really interesting people. If any of you guys want to Google a guy named Ingo Swann, I-N-G-O Swann, S-W-A-N-N, very interesting guy. He was the real deal, and I had some interesting times interacting with him at the New York office. So that's the deal. That's most people don't realize that.
His foundation still tweets on X or Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, formerly known as Twitter. You can still find tweets from Ingo Swann's foundation. They put up his sayings. I think of Uri Geller as well. Okay, Paul, thank you for sharing that. Mark, you're going to have to take this. Buddhist chaplain, artist, speaker, consultant, theater. You've done a solo show or 2 or 3 or 4. You've also had a lot of interaction with a lot of companies, and it's very artistic interactions. We mentioned the swim coach background, local, regional, and national, like training, breaking national and world records, some national championships in there as well. You're in Prague these days, the Czech Republic. You've been there since 2013. Again, your art theater background, but you have a master's degree. Can you mention what that was in?
Yeah, at the time it was called Performance and Instructional Technology. So,
okay. And again, your website, Paul's was stressbeaters.com, markshimada.wordpress.com for information about you. And again, you have served in the past with Boeing. This is more of as an internal consultant, Sisters of Providence Hospitals, the U.S. Treasury Department. You've got a storied past, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, what have you got for us for a reminder to be, breathe, allow, smile, laugh more? I could keep going. There's a million activities to get to here. What have you got for us?
Well, just one thing first. My WordPress site is nothing, so it's still there. There's stuff there, but I don't post anymore. I just kind of fell out of all of that activity.
Do you have any
So-
other spots people can go for your background?
I don't actually have something for my background. I just, I have the 2 companies that I am co-founder of.
Do you want to
So-
mention those briefly? Because I've purposely not mentioned that. You help folks in an amazing way in terms of refugees around the globe. And so that's up to you. What level of detail could you give us about your amazing humanitarian assistance you do for people globally?
Yeah. So I have the for-profit side, which is Latudio, which is an app in languages around listening comprehension, because I struggle with that, learning Czech. I thought it was interesting that I oriented towards listening, because I think that's a lot of what my whole life's purpose is just to keep listening. Then there's the Kusala Institute, which is the nonprofit side, which is about trying to really support refugees with language because of the refugee migrations. I think the climate migrations that's already happening worldwide. So we're trying to position ourselves. We're a startup. We're not nearly at the level that people think of us, like Duolingo and Babbel and all these big companies, but it's heartfully intended. And we have projects in Uganda, Senegal. We're working on Thailand, Haitians. So, we're starting to reach out a little bit more, and I'm just very concerned about the well-being of people that are going to need to move to another country and get jobs. And so that's my service. Yeah, it's my chapel. So.
And so again, people from other countries arriving at their destination country, you help them learn the native language of that country, which is a big deal.
Yeah, we're trying to, it's a little bit more indirect than that, because there's a lot of organizations that support people when they get into those places. We're not first responders. There's so many incredible organizations that are doing that. UNHCR, the Lutheran community, the Catholic communities, Buddhist, everybody is all hands on deck. We're trying to be there after all of that. That's the difficult part, is trying to find those people, because we're not first responders. So, but we're trying to do everything we can. But I wanted to go back to, what was your question that I was supposed to respond to?
Well, let's go back to the fundamental center of everything. Now is always the occasion. I'll start with that. Yeah. Take us from there.
Yeah. The very early in the call, I remembered the book, Parker Palmer, Let Your Life Speak. And I just love that mantra about let your life speak. I feel like so much of kind of what we want to offer and contribute to the world is not about listening to your life and watching your life, and what do you talk about, and who do you connect with, and what do you really pull towards. So I have a couple of mantras that I like, which is listen to silence and follow echoes. So this is a great Zen koan saying. And then the other one is, how does it go? Be pulled by what you love. And I think those 2 things for me is about listening to your life speak. And that's it. I don't think there's any right answer. I think just tuning into that is so much that people can continually benefit from.
Beautiful. Okay, Vasi. This is Vasi Therese Rose Lopez, St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, but in 30 years of energy healing work, I'm about to get into that. You've spent time in India, though, directly with Sri Kalashwar while he was alive, very young, beautiful energy. I like to describe him, if people meet him now on the other side, as love on a light or just Indian breeze. I think that's a beautiful, gentle description. You're a very talented energy work therapist, but there's a lot of ways to say this. You've studied a lot of modalities, Reiki. You're a master teacher of magnified healing, acupressure, crystal healing, Sai Shakti Healer. That would be Sri Kalashwar again, teacher of divine channels. You've studied the palm leaf manuscripts. I had to mention that. And your website is saiaum.creations.com. That's SAI creations.com. We're going to have you just, if you could cover your background, just to touch what you think you'd like to mention. But your overall shtick would be helping people change their lives, helping people find more meaning in their life, and empowering folks more at the soul level to use what they've already got, or simply appreciate and allow for their own flows to come forth and ownership of here. How about that? Okay, Vasi, what do you got for us?
Yes. I started with Sri Kalashwar at a point in my life where I had done many other modalities already. And I think those really were preparing me to get to that point where I was going to, start with the divine energy channels. Sri Kalashwar's mission in life was to bring knowledge of Divine Mother to others. Her energy channels, which she had given to saints and rishis, written on palm leaves, which have mantras, yantras, processes, all of which help a soul on its path to enlightenment. And I didn't know that's what I was getting into initially. I had just gone to a class that was given by two of his students, and the energy like completely captured me. We were singing bhajans and listening to beautiful music, and I was just so taken with it that I decided I want to go this path now. And I'm sure there was some work ahead of time by Swami on my soul to come to this point. It was all new to me and very inviting. And it was a turning point in my life that 16 years ago, I really couldn't see where I am now back then. It has changed me so much. And so I'm really passionate about sharing this with others because I think you really can make a lot of progress when you dedicate yourself to what it is you're doing, no matter what it is. And I feel like it's brought me to a much more peaceful place inside, and I'm able to help others better because I have done a lot of healing myself. I mean, I'm not perfectly healed, of course, but there's a lot that I have to share to help other people to get out of their drama, their trauma, whatever it might be, their cycles of negativity that seem to hold them down. Um, because I was that way myself. And so it's brought me to the place of being able to share and help people lighten their load. A Swami would say, life is short, make it sweet. I mean, really, every day, try to be positive in the morning and when you go to sleep at night, too. Keep that energy up as much as you can, not to lose your inspiration for it, whatever it is you feel you're called to do, and to be as kind to others as you can. He would say your heart house has to have a huge kindness, and that's something he wants all of us to have. So I really feel very blessed to be a part of this lineage and to be able to share the information and the healings, the processes that have been shared with me that I've benefited from.
And you all three have amazing parallels. It might not be the same terminology, the same certifications, the same training, the background and everything else. But if we talk meditation, whether it's active or silent or just, active meditation, sitting still, tapping into that stillness. I mean, I don't want to say this out loud, but I'm gonna. It's a show, technically a panel. I'm sorry to do this, but 8 hours of meditation is not outside the realm of where maybe 5 hours, maybe 6. One of you is saying 7. You get the idea. A lot of hours of sitting still. That alone, it would be like going to the mirror. If the person watching wants the challenge, go to your mirror. You might need a shot of whiskey standing nearby. You might need a cigar. You might need your favorite music playing. Go say I love you to the mirror. And is it going to take 1,500 times over 5 hours over and over again to say I love you till you crack and you go to here and you're streaming tears saying, oh my God, I am so amazing. I've forgotten to tell myself I love myself for 20 years. That happens. Whole lifetime of no love. We forget. We are able to shut things off and distance ourselves from it's here, constant, in and around us. Paul, I bought you enough time. How many hours have you meditated at your record level? Just I'm throwing you under the meditation bus here. This is a horrible question.
You mean since I started meditating?
What was the longest you ever went? Did you pass out and count that as meditation?
I'm not I don't do long meditations. In fact, I seldom even go on retreats.
Hmm.
What I've discovered for myself is that 30 or 40 minutes a day is fine. And that's the groove that I've kind of stayed in now for 53 years. And I've done maybe one or two retreats where we do extended practice. But for me, it didn't really seem as a good fit. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing retreats where I would meditate 6, 7, 8 hours a day, but sort of.
And you did transcendental meditation back in the day, like we're talking 70s there, right?
I tried it. Yeah, a lot of my friends in the 60s became transcendental meditator teachers, and they kept after me, you got to try this, you got to try this. But I was doing Kabbalah, I was doing mindfulness and yoga. I wasn't really interested in transcendental meditation, but they finally wore me down. And so in 1981, I did take the course, and then I went on to do the advanced training at MIU, Maharishi International University in Fairfield, Iowa. And so I did get to look deeply into the TM movement and see what it was all about. So yeah, it was interesting, but I didn't embrace it. I did it more for my friends, who wanted me to have the experience, and it was interesting.
Mark, there's a lot in there. Don't feel like you got to tackle any of it. And I was being very facetious about the length of hours because it doesn't matter. It's do what you need to do, enjoy what you can enjoy if you can remember. And that reminds me to remind everyone, look, life's a sushi menu. And I'll step back for a second. Dull Knife, the unconditional love Native American chief that's wisdom with some humor. I think all of you have met him. We've, by the way, all known each other at least a year and a half. Some of us 2 to 2.5 years. I think you're all incredible. We've had experiences together. You've met at least 2 times before online with each other. None of us in person yet. Blame the pandemic for that. But Dull Knife said, life is a feast, partake. And I'll do that as my little saying, borrowing from someone else. But I like to do the sushi menu reminder. Hey, it's a sushi menu. You don't have to eat the sea urchin. Don't do it. And even start with a miso soup first. But go out of what you know long enough to enjoy the damn meal. And it's on the house. That's the whole point here. Someone gave you a gold card, Amex, Platinum, whatever, black one. Whoa, status. But at the end of the day, you don't have to pay the bill. Enjoy. Take a chance. Okay, Mark, I bought you more time. What do you got for us?
Well, I don't know what they're called in the US, but here they're called running sushi. So you go to the restaurant, there's this little river that's running through the restaurant, and the conveyor belt goes by, and you just choose the plate, and you just keep going until you are finished. And then you go to they count the plates. And so, it's I like that because I think when I sit, I feel like time really doesn't matter, but it's just enjoying the quality of what you're feeling, and who knows how many plates you got. Sure, the clock goes off 15 minutes. Whenever you get up, but it's always about quality. There's just so much. I mean, sometimes when I sit, I feel like it's been so much longer. And sometimes it's like that. And I was like, really? It's over? And so, that's when it's like running sushi. You can have 3 plates and you're full, or you can have 15 plates and you're paying $50 at the door. So it just depends. You just have to enjoy it. I mean, that's the purpose of it. It's not supposed to be work. It's not supposed to be something that you have to, fight against. It's something you're just supposed to enjoy because it's all about you, so this has got to be something good. Yeah, I mean, of course, there's hills and valleys, and you go through a lot and cope with a lot, but there's a lot of amazingness and kind of just taking another sushi plate. So
the big question is, why do so many people not like sea urchin?
It gets a bad rap. I picked it out unconsciously.
Yeah, I had it once and haven't had it since, but I don't
And
know.
you
Mark,
live.
Mark, do you have sea urchin?
I don't know that I ever have, but I kind of gravitate to everything that I know, right? It's back to this question, how do I try things that I'm not comfortable with? I don't know what sea urchin looks like to know that I would order it. But usually I go with my brother and he travels to Japan, so he just orders everything and I just eat whatever comes out. So
Yeah.
Tried and true. Okay, Vasi, Earth School, here we are. We're all trying to live a life. Sometimes we think everything's just been handed to us for better, for worse. We're stuck. My situation is, my problem is not my opportunity for growth is. Good luck with that one. Believing anything is happening for us rather than to us. But can you talk to us about this process of becoming more aware that we have more ability to shape our experiences?
Yes, I think many people in their lives might feel like they're victims as to what's happening in their lives, when in fact, we all, before we even incarnate, have chosen our experiences, what's going to happen to us based on our karmas, so that we can learn our lessons, we can get through and resolve what we've come here to do. Plus, shine our light, be that source of inspiration for others. There's so much that we come here to share and to be a part of. I think that victim mentality is really fear-based, and granted, many people live in fear. I feel nowadays, with so much spiritual movement and energy across the earth plane, that that's dissolving and love is becoming the greater and stronger wavelength. And granted, love, truth, peace are always present anyway. It's just they're not qualified or used necessarily to the extent they can be. But the creation energy is present, ever present. So it's just that the greater energies have been maybe the more negative ones. I think that's definitely transforming, and everything can be switched to its opposite form. We live within the mother's womb space. And in this, macrocosm, even within our microcosm, all emotion exists, all thoughts, all spiritual precepts, everything is there. It's what we choose to emphasize, what we choose to maybe attach to. We can have divine desire, divine intention, and attachment. And that's the best kind to have, because that really helps to grow our soul energy. And so I think people need to be re-educated as far as they do have a choice. In everything, there's a choice. And it's to follow more your soul guidance. The soul can be strong enough that it can, I guess, guide the mind. I don't want to say control the mind, but to really guide it to make better choices. And everything happens based on our choice. It can be, a negative karma, it can be a positive one. It can help us to grow in harmony with, within ourselves. And then that will happen outward as well. And it makes us better for being able to help other souls, other people who are lost or want to clear up their confusions or doubts. You really have to be clear on your own path, on your own soul growth, as to where you're going and what life is like on this planet. There's a lot of duality, when in fact, that's what we see and that's what we pick up on. That's really not totally the case. The earth is moving from third dimension to fifth dimension, where it's going to be abundance for everyone. Love is the Shakti currency. That's what's going to be prevalent. And so there's a lot of change that's happening behind the scenes. We're not necessarily privy to all of it, but there are a lot of forces, angels, of course, working to bring the earth up to a higher vibration. And we all have our part to do with that as well. When you change your vibration, you change your experience in every way. And so it's to make good choices and to go with that divine flow, to establish that for yourself, whether it's in meditation or being out in nature, doing your yoga, just having a good time with friends. You can build that positive energy for yourself and for them.
Beautiful, Vasi. And that's the direction we're going after Mark and Paul have talked about, or Paul and Mark have talked about the Earth School aspect of this. We'll talk more angels, just cover that and then wrap it up. But I have a quote, and I'll also re-sum up, if I said that correctly in English, what Vasi just said. She was saying sushi, enjoy it, no calories. Okay. Now here's the quote. I had a house, first ever house. I was turning 42. I needed to get living as an adult, be 56 in February, I guess. So I don't know how to explain any of this. Looking backwards in time, I feel like I've gone backwards through life the entire time. I'm still waking up to what it is we do as adults. So I bought a home in Austin, Texas, and I, for some reason, grabbed these random quotes that I had collected in the equivalent of a diary in 1992, starting off on Wall Street, 93, in New York City. What I was doing, grabbing these quotes, I had no business grabbing. I didn't understand the concept of non-duality for 23 years. And here's the quote that I put up on my wall, hidden behind a doorway near the laundry room. So it was like a mantra set of quotes, 18 of them or so. Maybe we'll be lucky and get a few more later. Here it is from Siddha Katrapa. If I said the name correctly, forgive me if I didn't. Whatever the yogin sees is his instruction, and realization that all he sees is unborn. That is the most excellent guru. Innocence is the way to realize non-duality, for here the effects of virtue and vice are one. I have loved that quote without ever understanding it for many decades now. Okay, Paul, talk to us about sushi. Earth School.
Earth School. I used to think about, oh, I can't talk about sushi.
No, you can talk about sushi, but this is going to be good. I already put a seatbelt on.
Yeah. Okay. I used to think that Earth was like a school, where we come here to learn lessons and so forth and so on. But I've kind of moved away from that. And I feel now like we're here just simply to have experience. Learning, to me, learning is secondary. Primary is pure experience. Just to have the ability to really fully experience what it's like to be in this body, and to integrate as much of our spiritual essence into that body. So for me, I've moved away from the school and I've moved toward pure experience.
So you take a long time to eat even one bite of sushi, and anybody eating with you has got to be like this an hour and a half into your fourth piece. But I need to go back to you for a second, Paul. You've had a lot of experiences. We've sort of mentioned some in your original show. Please, everybody go back to, I think it was episode 7 of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Paul shared so much that even his friends, colleagues were going back to watch that show twice. They didn't know. Sorry, let's not do it 4 times. But twice, I can do it. And so with that, I did want to touch on something. So the universe is really big, multidimensional. There's a lot of other places. What can you share with us about why, we're very bound in time, space, thinking, possibility, creation, flows of energy? There's a lot of contrast. I think I finally found my English contrast here on Earth. That's sometimes very painful and very hard to allow for or to get acclimated to, as you were just discussing. But can you give us, if we have nighttime classes, for example, for me, I'm knocked out. I barely ever remember a dream. And yet I've got angel classes going on, stuff that I'm not going to remember, blah, blah, blah. I'll mention that past lives might be concurrent, happening right now, just to throw a wrench into everything we think we know. But talk to us about how active classes in the universe, if you can share something there to throw, again, hand grenade into this whole conversation, active classes in the universe beyond remote viewing. We're talking traveling here. Oy vey, let's do it.
Okay, then. I guess starting around 1972 or 3, I started to spontaneously have these out-of-body experiences. As a child, I could do it consciously. I would just lay in bed and go through the process where, for out-of-body stuff, I don't know if any of people watching have these experiences, but I went through a phase where I feel pins and needles all through my body, and then the next thing is my consciousness separates from the body. I'm up in the ceiling, and I did that practically every night when I was a child. When I reached puberty, I lost the ability to do that. But then in around 1972 or 3, I still couldn't do it, but it started to happen spontaneously. So I'd go to sleep and then I would wake up, I'd be out of the body and standing next to the bed. And then I would be whisked off into the universe. And for me, I would end up going to school. It was like a university. And that went on for at least 20 years. And I probably had those experiences at least 2 or 3 times a week that I can remember. And during the university experience, of course, the main subjects had to do with learning how the universe works and going out on field trips with the class. And for me also, those were my majors, universal understanding and wisdom and so forth. My minor was overcoming the fear of dying. So that was my elective. So I would sometimes go off by myself and practice dying. And I would die in a lot of different ways. A lot of times I died in nuclear bombs, sometimes guns, bows and arrows, falling off cliffs, things like that. And so probably, I probably died at least 20 times that I can remember practicing. And in the beginning, there was a lot of fear, of course. And every time I experienced fear with the death, I'd end up back in my body. But with practice, I was able to actually get rid of the fear. And as I was able to get rid of the fear, I would go into a white light as I was dying. And then I'd pop out the other end and I'd get to do field trips on my own. So I would traverse through the universe. I didn't have any body or anything at that point. It was just pure awareness, pure consciousness, and just traveling through the universe, visiting different stars and planets and systems and seeing all the various dimensions, and the heavenly bodies and understanding how all of these things worked and tied together. So after about 20 years of that, I started to have less and less of that happening. And I kind of feel like I've been going through an integration of so many of those experiences that happened for so many years. So it's kind of, I'm in that integration phase.
Did you ever graduate or even get a certificate, though, for all those classes? No, I'm kidding. But it reminds me of, we've always got to have metaphor or myth, Joseph Campbell, but the modern myths would be like Marvel, comic book hero stuff. Green Lantern, some of those shows, maybe the Ryan Reynolds one, with all the different characters coming together to, do love in theory, even though it's battling and it's comic book heroes and stuff like that. But I'm reminded of what Mark Shimada said much earlier about just appreciating that the other person already has it all together, and allowing that to come forth and just being love, even if he didn't say it quite that way. But the presence, the stillness, I'm going to make the argument right now that people are actually day by day unconsciously doing a tremendous amount of living. They don't give themselves credit for it in the smallest micro moments as they go through their day 100 times that they deserve an Olympic medal for. It might be just flipping a light switch, but with some consciousness, but they're still unconscious up here about how much they've got it together. They don't even know they have a fear of dying. Let's do it the Paul Sugar method. They don't even know they should be afraid of death. And let's not stick a whole new syndrome on someone who's already got a bunch of things going on. They don't need an extra donkey in the cart being pulled by 2 donkeys. But Mark Shimada, talk to us about something here, because there's a lot on the table now. You've been given a whole host of different sushi menus to choose from.
I think, I go to fear of loving. I don't really understand it. One way that I look at it is obviously from a language point of view, because I'm immersed in that world. The way the Americans use the word love is so different than the way Czechs use love. In fact, they rarely do. And they sometimes are with their partner, girlfriend, boyfriend for years before they say, I love you. It's this, they need this certainty about it, I feel. And then you have what I have learned from Sanskrit is that there are 50 ways to say love in their language. So, you know, from a cultural point of view, something's happened in the cultures in which the word love is used in such different ways. And maybe that's what conditions us. I don't understand. I really don't understand why people are afraid to love. You know, just giving a hug. I mean, here in the Czech Republic, it's so weird if you do that. And I do it all the time. And, you know, I get these one-armed hugs, right? It's like, oh yeah, okay, we're doing this. And I'm like, yeah, really? I mean, I just care about you. So it's a two-arm hug. You know, it doesn't mean anything beyond that. It's just an expression of appreciation and gratitude and honor. But I don't have any answer for that about why people are afraid to love.
I love it. I love what you just said. Pun intended. Okay, I'm going to go to each of you real quick. Yes or no question. Do angels exist? Vasi.
Oh, yes, they do.
All sugar.
Yes, they do. And I would add that depending on the culture, they go by different names, depending on the culture.
Can you give us one example so that we're following, even though it makes sense? We stumped him.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll say this might get me in hot water because I've been reading a lot about UFOs lately and aliens and stuff like that. In that culture, a lot of people feel like the angels are aliens, so to speak, and that they I'm just sort of new to this, but the understanding is that somehow humans have been in touch with these aliens and they put their own spin on it and create the angel persona, so to speak. But that's such a big subject because from what I'm learning is that there are so many different types of other beings. So, you know, should we say, like, for example, I came across many, many, many different types of other beings when I was doing my university studies. And a lot of times as humans, we come in contact with a lot of different types of beings. And somehow, for some of us, we end up putting them in that classification as angels. But if you look beyond that, maybe there's some other way of looking at it.
And angels will share with you their backgrounds, but to a certain extent. Sometimes it takes me 10 years to hear, let me do it this way. So angels come in all shapes, sizes, colors, all sorts of backgrounds in terms of their own path, progression. Some are from really far out. To put it any further than that can be almost a waste or taking you off your track because we love to ask why, what. We're like 5-year-olds broken record. When are we going to get there? You know, we're much more about, oh my God, what's happening to me the first time you have an experience, anything like that. Mark, do angels exist?
Oh yeah, of course. So many different forms though. You know, it's in dreams, in real life, and talking to people.
And what's nice is they understand where you're at and that what you need in that present moment experience, maybe to help you along to your next life stage or just to get you to next week or through the project or a hug or just support or a reminder of who you are. So what's great is they can come across in many different ways, with or without wings. Again, your favorite actor or just a human on the street who holds the door open for you, sparkly eyed. I can't emphasize that enough, including it's possible for you to walk with them in full-on human form, get a gaggle together. I know of someone once in the last 2 years who's done that, who's actually had enough presence staying power. It's allow, ask, and receive. What are you willing to allow for and ask for? So with that, I'm going to put up an angel photo of Joy. She's the emotion Joy. If you've watched the shows at all or seen any of my social media or anything, she's the ambassador communicator, the one who helps you let go, to be here. Let her do her job. If you're an American, I've just guilted you. Get out of what you know, get to here, let her do her job. Mark, do you want to get a topic from her, or at least get a hug and say, oh, that was nice, but maybe a topic, a quick mention, and or what she's saying as a reminder to us all to let go more, love more? What are you getting?
Just do what you love, be what you love, say what you love, and just be real, be authentic. Just don't put up any filters.
I loved it. Had to do that for the effect. Okay, Vasi, what are you getting from Joy? And could you also get an aroma from, it starts with the P, pendulum, the place in India that you spent some time. I forgot the name, but the Sri Kalashwar village, his ashram temple.
It's Penaconda.
Yeah, Penaconda. Could you get a taste of it energetically that brings you the memory of it in a positive way? Because it's very energetic there.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you have for us from Joy as a reminder, as Sri Kalashwar would say, or Sai Baba? I'll put up his photo in just a little bit.
Bring your light forward. Don't be afraid to shine your lights.
Nice.
The joy is the light. The true state of the soul is joy.
I love it. Be all you can be.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Sugar.
Without joining the army.
Without, I know, I was going to do the army crack. That's all I was thinking about. Sorry, I'm a punster. Okay, Paul Sugar, what are you getting from Joy?
I like what Mark said. That's exactly what I'm getting from Joy, but Mark said it a lot better than I could.
Okay, beautiful. That's a proper punt, NFL level. I loved it. It was a good 70-yarder down the field. Charlotte to Mark Shimada. She's a teacher, very relaxed. If you like ancient Egypt, though, she helped bring compassion to the Egyptians if you want to allow for that little tidbit. If not, we're good. But what have you got, Mark? Let her sweep through you with, it could be an ocean feeling. It could be just that time at the monastery.
There's no right answers.
Nice. Vasi, back to you. And Paul does not get to say what Mark said when it gets to him. Vasi, what did you get?
Anybody can be a teacher to you.
Everything's your instruction.
Even if they're younger than you, they're your child, maybe. So be open and willing to listen to what others have to say.
Beautiful. Extra pause there just to appreciate what you were saying. Okay, Paul Sugar, Charlotte.
Well, you know, it's funny how you connected Charlotte to Egypt, because that color blue I've always associated with Egypt for some reason. And so, you know, I think visualizing that color blue is a great way of opening up that experience of compassion. I'm going to try that, in fact. I'm going to work with that particular color and see what happens.
I love it. And you've got it on video as a reminder later this afternoon when this comes out. So you do have a homework assignment you just gave yourself. Don't look at me.
Right.
Okay. One quick question, Paul. We're going to go off script for 2 seconds. Not that there is one. But how many different directions in the universe? If you think of an arrow going out from Earth and it could go in 1 billion different directions, with that, how many different backgrounds of how many different angels, because they're in the beyond tens of thousands, how many different directions does Charlotte say those backgrounds go for unconditional love beings who are just here to help? No interference. They'll never tell you what to do or be about control. You have to be willing to want to learn and be more love and just say, okay, I'm tired of the brain going on up here. I need to get living here. That's when they jump in and they give you all the assistance in the world. What's she say about how big it really is?
That's something that has struck me, and I think with Charlotte, you know, simpatico with that. It's huge and it goes out in every direction. In fact, my experience out there is that there is no such thing as a direction out there.
That's a
yeah. I shouldn't even say any more other than there is no such thing as a direction out there, or in there, depending on how you want to verbalize it.
And I'll steal a page from the Zen playbook from Mark. The only direction is to hear, and when. Why not now?
Yeah.
We're always ready. Now, Min, from really far out, my guardian angel, they've got me going into a pool daily for months now. She's light waves of energy and water, a pool in the sunshine, since we've had endless 100-degree days until 2 days ago. this hottest summer ever almost. Well, guess what? Sunlight, there's a lot of ripples of light in the pool. I don't know what's really happening. If I only had Paul, Sugar, Vasi, and Mark Shimada to be referees on the side of the pool with microphones filming for some documentary, they would know more than I would, even though I'm the one in the pool. Blame this. Min, call her Min. She's light waves of energy and water, soft-spoken professor. Catch the scent of your favorite ocean, even if you've never been there. The Seychelles, Canary Islands, Maui. Mark, what are you getting from Min? I bought you time again. I'm looking out for you in this panel.
It's about asking the question, and you might have to re-ask it in a different way and keep re-asking it. But my experience or feeling is that angels respond to a question or a wish.
And that was just gorgeous. Thank you for that. And thank you again. And you've, yes, thank you. Both Paul and Mark, and Vasi, all of you have video testimonials up. And you mentioned in your video testimonial, Mark, the synchronicity of when you were asking for help and then the universe immediately responded. And I love that. I'll leave that for people to discover. Vasi in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, you have done a lot of work with figures from India. Guides, loving guides. It's all unconditional love. There's no hierarchy. Any one figure could help with anything you need help with. Vasi, what have you got for us from Min?
Know that you are the ocean, not just waves upon the ocean. We're all one.
Beautiful. Sai Baba is next. We'll do Chogyam Trungpa, 3 Native American chiefs, and do a final round. And again, thank you all of you for doing this. This is incredible. I'm going to remind folks at home, they can put their hand out to these photos. Go back, play it again. If you want to look, let's do a quick timeout. Normal, regular Bic lighter. I do this on all sorts of shows. You can see what you normally would see. But now ask for, I'll shut it off, ask for Paul, ask for Charlotte to come in an extra blue light as a reminder for the blue you're going to get during your meditations. Vasi, ask for Sai Baba to come in, or Joy, or both, and get some pink and extra light. Mark Shimada asked for Buddha to come in and do golden flexolite, plus your other favorite experts. Everybody get a little extra off the lighter. Now, they're all going to think we're on psychedelics if they're just coming in and tuning in at this moment, but that's to get you to laugh and let go more. It's up to you. What will you allow for? Go for the sea urchin, I say. And hopefully I'm on screen. Yes, beautiful. Sometimes I'm off screen with that lighter. That doesn't help anybody. So the moral of today's show is always keep the lighter on the screen. Keep your light visible. Okay, Mark, did you get something?
Yeah, the saying comes to me, which is from Zen tradition, is shine the light on your own 2 feet.
Or this. Paul Sugar, did you get something?
Excuse me. Yeah, the light is the big deal. Going into the light. I remember that as part of my many experiences. I would always end up going into the light, confronting the fear, and then popping out the other end. So I think, the willingness to enter the light is the key.
Beautiful. Vasi, what do you get? Either visually or verbally or auditorially, whatever I'm trying to say.
Even in the darkest moment, there is light. There is hope.
Okay, Sai Baba is coming up next. Vasi, keep going. Sorry.
I was just saying there's never really true darkness. There's light, even when it doesn't look like there's light. There's always potential.
Love it. And I'll mention that everyone's the light switch, except flip it. Either you're upside down, the light switch is upside down, because I would argue you're off when you're here, but when you're here, let's say your thinking drops to your heart, you're one with all. That's when you're doing great finger painting, you're cooking that incredible meal everybody's waiting for, you're hugging the dog. 1 million activities. You're that athlete who scored 4 touchdowns in a row, or the business person who got 7 yeses in a row. It was that day. You woke up and everything you touched was a yes. We all experience that, but we give ourselves half the time, no credit for it. So you already have everything within. Speaking of which, Sai Baba, all about possibility, love, Mr. Miracles, connected to angels like this, straddled 3 religions. We'll start with Vasi on this one, Sai Baba. And if you'll catch a rare temple incense smoke that you can't buy out of any shop anywhere, what's Sai Baba have for us all? This is the one from about 1910, 1912, 18, and earlier.
Keep your inspiration and keep your heart light burning.
Ooh. And Paul Sugar?
Yes.
Choose your path and stay the course.
Mark Shimada.
I love your smile.
And that's what he said to you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, that's what he wants me to say. Just,
Oh.
I love your smile.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Chogyam Trungpa, or as I do in my unique little way, or big way, or little way, or big way, whatever. I met Chogyam Trungpa, but I was like, oh my God, for Americans, that's a mouthful. What do we do with your name? How impetuous of me. But he said, call me Gentle Frank. He rolled with it, and I love that. So Gentle Frank, Chogyam Trungpa. I had 2 of his students from the 70s meet him on the other side. How cool is that? Plus 1 journalist out of India who had just met him more as a journalist. So Chogyam Trungpa, Mark, can we start with you on this? And if you want to hear Tibetan something, could be symbology or music, those deep sounds that are Om-like, I'm forgetting what I'm trying to say, bells, chimes.
Yeah, learn to party, but, you know, ethically, morally, in good taste or good faith, or, you know, don't hurt anybody, but just learn to party.
Like live life to the fullest.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Vasi, I'm going to switch sides for some reason. Okay.
Be honest with yourself is what I got from him.
Yeah. Shine the light towards yourself, get rid of the shadows, and know where you're at. Love that. Paul Sugar, to you get the full screen for some reason and a part of a finger.
Yeah, so what I'm getting is that there's stillness in the silence and there's silence in the stillness.
Hmm.
I think the Chiefs or him once said there's no such thing as silence, just stillness. I think that was the Chiefs. I think there's always going to be a way. If we sat for 10 days and had to come up with endless stillness quotes, we'd probably have to cheat and ask angels, but we could do it. There's no one way to say anything because it's not about words. It's about where your intent is coming from. Is it flowing from here, up here? I've gone deep today. Dull Knife, Native American Chief. We're wrapping up with 3 unconditional love Native American Chiefs. You've all met them. Dull Knife from Mark Shimada. He's wisdom with humor. If anybody wants to start catching one of those 50 Native American sacred scents, leather, tobacco, sweetgrass, juniper, cedar, pine, you can tell I'm buying Mark time. Dull Knife, what are you getting from him?
Yeah, go for a walk and pay attention.
Home run. Vasi, what are you getting from Dull Knife?
See the humor in life situations.
And Vasi, do you mind getting something private from him for you to reconnect with him on later? Something, and you just say to us, got it, something special and fun.
Okay.
Beautiful. And hopefully that was not another homework assignment. If not, blame me in an email later. And for the audience, you can do this. You're looking at wonderful, venerable teachers. I don't have any more of those pithy quotes from this. Although, what is the white ox standing in the field? Whack, you dumb ox, from the master or the teacher. Don't spend your time asking questions being up here. Learn to find a way to hit your heart button. Red shirt. Oh, sorry, Paul. Don't know if I didn't get that for you.
Okay, yeah, I was something about holding the space of the moment.
Oh, wow.
So we'll say that, holding the space of the moment.
What Mark might have said earlier about the echoes, following those echoes, and the occasion, the moment is the occasion. I'm borrowing from Chogyam Trungpa. Okay. Red shirt, back to you, Mark. We'll start with red shirt here. Gentlest mom in the world, compassion, compassion, compassion. So gentle.
Be careful what you see or how you interpret what you see.
Vasi.
Live in love and humility.
Paul, can you get an experience beyond words, but get the words while you're getting the words? You've got something extra that catches you slightly off guard. It might be a seat materializing in your hotel room that does not have a seat. Or a stool.
Well, I gotta tell you, you know, I mean, I've seen red shirt a lot, but I just realized that, or it's just striking me now, his gaze is out there past the beyond. And so what I'm thinking is we combine our experience in the moment here in the body And at the same time, we're experiencing that great beyond that he's gazing at and bringing the two of them together.
In 12 years, you're the first person that has said that. Everybody's done. Here's 4 archangels. Don't say anything out loud. Just get a hug. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, everybody. I'm going to Geronimo next. But if you want to get a laugh and anyone wants to share what 4 archangels are saying about Geronimo, something pithy and short, like real life of the party. Mark, what are you hearing from 4 archangels as sort of a character reference on Geronimo?
It's a lot of vegetables.
And Vasi, are you getting anything beyond a hug from 4 archangels about Geronimo?
He can be tough when he has to be.
And Paul?
Getting something very, very clearly. They want me to say, remind Geronimo to smile.
Okay, and he's chuckling right now. But here is Geronimo, young Geronimo. And Mark Shimada, one reminder either for us all or get something personal and just say, got it.
Yeah, your aspirations matter.
Okay, Vasi, for you.
I have clear intentions.
Paul Sugar.
Well, I've always felt very close to Geronimo. I live in his neighborhood. Literally, I live on Geronimo Road. So whenever I see Geronimo, it sort of brings me home.
Okay, now everyone, invisible seatbelt, whatever that means. If you have to go Formula 1 and do 2, here's older Geronimo. Last but not least, you can feel the vibe. If anybody wants to put their hand up in their lap and feel the vibe on their hand, their back, anybody can put their hand up to 2 screens, 3 screens. I'm using an iPhone. So if you're in Idaho right now, New Zealand, Germany, you can feel Geronimo's unconditional love healing vibe come your ways. Action, 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 dry wit, humor, like a Nike bumper sticker, just do it. Very slang, matter of fact, yeah, nah, duh, you already know the answer. Mark Shimada, what are you getting from this Geronimo, older?
Yeah, no regrets. Don't waste your time. Don't waste any time.
Deep to the point. Vasi, what are you getting from older Geronimo?
Keep your spirits light.
Paul Sugar, last but not least.
Yeah, I got very similar stuff, living the full life.
Now, I'm going to do a quick aside. As I run up to some of these hills, Dome Life has asked me to talk to the hill. They're not mountains. They seem like mountains. They're 12%. I'm a runner for 41 years. But Dome Life is like, hey, ask the mountain to help you out. And angels will come in and 70% of my output, energy-wise, others have asked and gotten the same 70%, will be angels jumping into your muscles, helping you finish the run. So if you want to call it gardening or cooking a meal, you're not sure. Remember, angels can physically step in and help you. That's where the healing comes in. Colorblind people seeing colors. There's a point to what I'm saying. Geronimo and Sai Baba have jumped in, though, wearing headbands, visually third eye, and made me laugh. The music's not doing it. I'm starting to fail going up these 12% inclines. And they come in and they're like, bub, let's get going. Come on. I feel like it's one of those 80s workout shows, and I start laughing and I'm like, oh my God, okay, yeah, remember that I'm running and I can shift my dynamics. I don't have to feel worn down. So that's a reminder to everybody. That was my last 2 cents. I'm going to go Vasi, Paul, and Mark for their last reminders on how to live more, love more. What do you got for us, Vasi?
Keep your inspiration in the moment and live life fully. Eat all the sushi you want.
And there's no calories. Paul Sugar.
I get that old saying, where attention goes, energy flows.
But now, can you say that one more time? Me being a little slow, I need to hear that one more time.
Where attention goes, energy flows. In fact, what I see when I'm out there, traversing the universe, is that one of the qualities of the spirit is attention. And there's a process of embodying the spirit into the body, bringing the spirit into the body. And that process involves attention. It's like a bridge. So when the spirit, or when the awareness, that pure self, is focusing the attention on the body, it sort of sucks the essence of the spirit into the body. And that's how I've experienced it myself. That's how I've learned to embody those qualities of the spirit into the physical body. That's why I say where attention goes, energy flows. Energy being the spirit, attention being the bridge that brings that spiritual essence into the body.
Mark Shimada.
Yeah, I'm going with what Roshi Joan Halifax said to me. Remember who you are.
Ooh. That
Just
could take
remember.
lifetimes. And then with the multiple lifetimes, you got multiple answers. I'm being facetious. Okay. Positivity is abundance will be my last few words here. And that was, again, given to me by, I think, Archangel Michael. Positivity is abundance. We think it's usually something else, a fixed situation, an outcome, what we're seeking. And what all of you have reminded us, it's the journey, not necessarily even out there, but just within, taking a chance on yourself. I say, go say, I love you in the mirror, and keep going until you're either bawling like a baby, releasing all the details and releasing more details, and finally feeling a modicum of love coming in. And if you have guts, ask angels to get you done in 5 tries. And if you're already a loving person, you're going to get it done in 2 times. You're going to start yawning, maybe a little leakage up here too. Well, you've all been wonderful. You're all super special. Venerable teachers, masters in the modern societal sense. And now you all 3 will shrug that off in a heartbeat. But I couldn't find 3 better experts to pull together to talk sushi. And I hope we do this again in the winter. Maybe we'll do this in February of 2024. Thank you again, Vasi Teresa Rose Lopez in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, Paul Sugar in Scottsdale, Arizona, Mark Shimada in Prague, the Czech Republic, Buddhist Chaplain. Thank you all for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Take care.
Thanks to everyone.
Bye.